Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No Names All Game. Today is January 24th. My name is Chris Hankin, joined by my co-host Pat Colicchio. We are officially in the off season, which is actually the start of our season. We started this podcast back in 2018. We started for the NFL draft in April. That was season one. So this is now technically the start of season 6 of No Names All Game. Pat, we've been doing this for a long time. How you been, man?
I've been good. I'm so unprofessional. I've got popcorn kernels stuck in my throat. That's how long I've been doing this. The
Okay, there
kid
you
just
go.
doesn't care anymore. He's eating popcorn before the show. I'm probably be digging kernels out of my teeth while we're recording.
And listen, we just started putting them on YouTube, so you are aware of this. This will be video. For those that listen, welcome to season 6. Those that have been with us since the very beginning, we thank you. Newer listeners, welcome aboard. Hope you guys enjoy what we do. We like to have fun here. If you like listening, it's always on Spotify, always on Apple. If you like watching, we're going to be on YouTube going forward, so check that out too. We got a good amount to talk about today. Off season has started. We've had some news, so we're going to cover the wide receiver coach change. Taylor Stubblefield was let go, and then pretty quick turnaround, hired a new coach, Marcus Hagans. So we'll talk about that. The transfer portal has been very active. We've added some nice additions. We've had to say goodbye to some familiar faces, some guys that have played some ball, some guys that had some potential. So we'll run through that. The 2023 recruiting class is signed. We've got a bunch of early enrollees. We'll touch on that a little bit. And then Pat's going to give us some updates on Penn State wrestling, which Pat is our expert for. If you guys are into wrestling, Pat is your guy. And the basketball team is doing some good things too. So we'll check in on that a little bit as well. But let's start with the wide receiver coaching change. Like I mentioned, Taylor Stubblefield let go. Marcus Hagans hired. Let's start with Stubblefield. Did you expect this? Did you see this coming? We didn't really talk a lot. You know, we don't like to talk about another man's job. We don't like to predict who's going to be fired or let go. Did you see this one coming?
No. Well, I guess yes and no. I didn't think he'd be fired only 3 years in. He hasn't done, I don't think, a bad job by any means. Jahan Dotson, you could say, was mostly developed under Taylor Stubblefield. Did a good job. Parker Washington was a guy who I think, with high ability wide receiver who, through not really much fault of his own, didn't put up monster stats until the very tail end of right before his injury. But he did have some losses on the recruiting trail, and there was kind of a feeling if you were looking around the room and you're like, who's the one falling behind? It felt like It was the wide receiver group. It felt like it was probably Coach Stubbs, but I mean, it was, if it was going to happen to anyone, that's who I would have guessed, but I did not think it was happening.
Yeah, I agree. I was definitely a little shocked when I saw it. Looked up some of the stats and numbers, like you mentioned. Stubblefield was hired 2020, so he was here for 3 seasons. 2020, his leading receivers Dotson, 52 catches, 884 yards, 8 touchdowns. 2021, Dotson breaks out, 91 catches, almost 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns. And then this past year, Parker Washington was the leading receiver, 46 catches, 611 and 2 touchdowns, and that's with missing a bunch of games. So I agree. I don't think for the last couple of years, I don't think receiver has been a weakness, but we haven't seen, outside of Dotson, obviously, and then a nice trajectory for Parker, we haven't seen a ton of star development or emergence. Keandre Lambert-Smith came along really nicely at the end of this year. We're all excited for what he's going to do next year. But there's a lot of young receivers on this team. There was one class where we took 5 wide receivers, another class where we took 3. You expect some of those guys to develop early, get reps, play, make impact. But we find ourselves, hitting the portal as it's a need, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So we wish Taylor Stubblefield the best. Hopefully he lands on his feet somewhere. I'm sure he's a wonderful man. I say that every time a coach is fired. I'm sure he's a great guy. But it's one of those things that you almost kind of like to see from James Franklin, because he's constantly evaluating. He realizes there's a potential, weak link, and he makes a change. So it happened, and we welcome Marcus Hagans. This is our fifth wide receivers coach under James Franklin. Josh Gaddis, obviously, for the first couple of years, he went on to offensive coordinator stints, Bama, Michigan, Miami. David Corley came in 2018. That was sort of the failed experiment where he came in, was supposed to coach running backs, but then we got a guy named Jaywan Sider, who is a legend. So they moved him over to wide receivers and just wasn't the right fit. Then we brought in Jared Parker, who we kind of thought was going to be the guy for a little while. KJ Hamler speaks so highly of him just in their 1 year together, but he got an offer to be the OC at West Virginia. I looked that up. He's actually now at Notre Dame being a tight ends coach. So I guess the stint at West Virginia as OC didn't last too long. Then we had Stubbs for 3 years. Now we move on to Marcus Hagans. Instant reaction. What do you think? What do you feel? How do you like this hire?
Yeah, I mean, so I was all in on the Josh Gaddis coming back. I had my tinfoil hat on.
Yep, the Wikipedia entries.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I had any idea who he was before he got hired. But you like to see James Franklin famously gave that speech after the Ohio State game a few years ago. We're good. What is it? Good, not elite, or great, not elite.
Yeah, we're a great team. We're not elite yet.
Yeah. What? Well, it's time to make elite moves. And it remains to be seen whether this will be an elite move. He's got a reputation as kind of like a developer specialist, which is the same as Stubblefield.
Yep.
But I think maybe there is a little more in the recruiting game in this hire. Comes in and immediately named offensive recruiting coordinator.
Yeah, so I saw that.
Got to think very highly of his abilities as a recruiter. He's been down at UVA for like a decade. And there's kind of two ways to look at that. I mean, he's got a receiver in the NFL right now. That's great, considering the program he's coming from. But also, it's a big step up in terms of programs. UVA is not a winning program right now. So if he's so good, what was he doing at this program for this long? I'm not sure. And then the other thing to look at is, Penn State has recruited Virginia extremely well in the past, but he has ties to Penn State recruits Northern Virginia very well. He's got some deep ties in Southern Virginia, like the Virginia Beach area, which Penn State traditionally does not recruit well. That's where they don't really get a lot of guys from. And that's a good area for football.
Yeah.
That's where Mike Vick is from,
Oh, damn. So that's a pretty good player.
That's where Allen Iverson, not football, but that's where Allen Iverson is from. Like, this is a place that produces some athletes.
Did you hear this? Apparently Marcus Hagans is good friends with Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
There's like a picture of like his kids with Allen Iverson. Like, dude,
I didn't know about that, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was his kids, or I don't know. It was a kid with Allen Iverson from a Marcus Hagan tweet. Like, let's get AI on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, but this could be an important piece to bring in some athletes and make this room, really upgrade the, get some game changers in this room. We feel like we haven't brought in anyone that exciting in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think the coaching carousel happens every year. Early on in James Franklin's tenure, we saw some guys leave for prospective bigger jobs. People going to SEC programs, Bob Shoop, Herb Hand, these guys that kind of went on and didn't do a ton, right? And then we've seen some guys, go on and become head coaches, right? Charles Huff at Marshall, Brent Pry finally just took the head coach at Virginia Tech. So, like, this is going to happen. Franklin says he always has a list of assistants that he's monitoring and watching. So I'm sure this guy's been on his radar for a while. I'm in the same boat. I had no idea who he was. I am going to be reading off my notes now that we're on YouTube. I can't just cheat and like constantly read, so I'm going to be reading. But yeah, he's been the UVA wide receivers coach since 2013. One of the big things that a couple different people pointed out on Twitter is that spans 3 head coaches. Mike London was the head coach when he was hired. Bronco Mendenhall came in, retained him. Tony Elliott came in, retained him. That doesn't happen a ton. When a head coach comes in, they normally bring most of their staff, pick their guys. This guy's, head coach proof, if you will. He's been a name mentioned for some other Big Ten and SEC jobs. I looked into that. Everyone's like, oh, he's been SEC jobs. It looked like it was like a South Carolina rumor like a couple of years ago. So it's not necessarily like he was going to Alabama or Georgia or anything, but he's been a coveted guy from bigger programs. a couple things I read on like his bio on the UVA website. On the top 20 career receptions list for UVA, 15 of those 20 are wide receivers. He's coached 9 of them. That's 60% of the top 15 wide receivers are under this guy. Pretty good. UVA has existed since the late 1800s. Obviously, football has changed. It's more passing lately, but still, he's got a good resume there. The NFL receiver you mentioned, definitely not saying his name right, but Olamide Zacchaeus. He's been in the league for 4 years on the Atlanta Falcons. He's a role player, but he's gotten better every year. 20 catches, 31, 40, 270 yards up to 533, 1 touchdown up to 3 touchdowns. So, he's having a decent NFL career, right? That's pretty cool. His career at UVA was sick. His senior year, he had like 93 catches, almost 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. You can see Hagan's really developed him. And then the thing you mentioned, the recruiting, right? Last year, we got 6 of the top 10 in Virginia. Some really big impact guys that we think are going to play a big role in this team over the next couple of years. Hagan's is a lifelong Virginia guy. He grew up there. He went to Virginia. He's from there. He has those deep ties. And I think you said it's really hard to be known as a good recruiter when you're at a program like Virginia. I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, he doesn't have any big recruiting wins. He doesn't have a big recruiting win. You try selling UVA football. Like, it's not a great product. You know what I'm saying? So I think now you look at the relationships he's built with, high schools there and coaches there. And you hope that now becomes fruitful, having a much more desired location, right? He's obviously someone people respect and trust and care about. Now he can say, hey, come to play at Penn State football. We're a top 10 team. We're going to be going to the playoff. I got Drew Aller ready to throw for you, right? And after him, whoever comes over the next couple of years, like now's the time to see like, yeah, what's this guy all about? So I think the thing that he's been there for 13 years is kind of a good thing, right? It's loyalty. It's I don't know if trust is the right word, but I don't know. It shows something about him. Like he's had opportunities. He could have jumped. I think he was probably waiting for something that really spoke to him, really talked to him, and Penn State is that job.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold against the career at UVA. I think it's fair to say it raises some question marks just coming from a program that isn't really all that good. But
yeah, like why didn't he take a job earlier? If there were opportunities,
and why now?
And maybe it is like a family thing. Maybe he just really did love being in Virginia, and finally Penn State is a job that's really good and close enough, kind of thing. I don't know. But everything I've read about him, everyone that I've seen on Twitter from UVA is, you're getting a great one. Take care of him. He's amazing. I watched a couple of like YouTube videos. I tweeted one out the other day. He's mic'd up running a drill with his guys, and the ACC network is like talking to him. Kind of a weird concept for an interview, but it's really cool because like he was very gracious to the panel. It was like Eddie Royal was on the panel, a couple other guys, very interesting. But he was very gracious to them, answering questions. But he was so laser focused on the drill at the same time. Like I can't say I've ever watched Taylor Stubblefield or Gaddis or any of them run a drill, so I'm not comparing. But it was really cool to see him, like how he coached his guys. He was very, very involved, very directive. A lot of intensity. I really love that, but like so supportive at the same time. One of the questions they asked him was something about a guy coming back from injury, and he's like, his answer was like, I just want him to have trust in himself. I want him to feel good. I want him to be the player I know he can be. And he was just like building his guys up. I really liked it. So like I said, I'm not gonna go sell myself on one YouTube video, say he's the best coach of all time. But everything I've read, everything I've seen, I feel good about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the kind of red flag, if you'd even call it that, of being at UVA, is certainly not enough for me to go, to like really question how good this guy is. I don't think it's a move James Franklin makes unless this guy really is, has potential to be like a real stud difference maker as a coach. And some of what I have heard about him is that he, from a development standpoint, he is very good at kind of like what you said, taking guys, making them more confident in, that the fact that they can do the job, that they can catch the ball. I mean, that's a big thing as a wide receiver. You lose a little bit of confidence in your hands, and it's not so much about your physical ability as it is your mental ability to trust yourself to catch that ball. Like you watch guys like Jahan who just go up and get it wherever it is. That's because he knows. Like, there's a part of Jahan Dotson that knows every time he is jumping in the air. That ball is in his hands and it's staying in his hands.
Yep.
That's a big deal as a wide receiver. And that could be a big deal with a guy like DeAndre Lambert-Smith, who, I think you're seeing his confidence very much on the rise from the end of this season. But, early part of his career, those were some struggles. And with young guys, I think those are probably some of the bigger issues you're going to have with young athletic wide receivers are most likely going to be some confidence issues.
Yeah, and that was another question they asked in that interview too. They said something about like how much confidence, I don't know if confidence is the word, but it was like, how much confidence does having a quarterback like, I think it was Brennan Armstrong at the time. It's like, how much confidence does having a quarterback like Brennan Armstrong do for your room? And I loved his answer. It was something about like, yeah, he's a great quarterback. He can sling it. We got to go up and do our jobs now. It's our job to make the play. It's our job to take the tools and take the talent around us and make them better. It's just like, yeah, like you're gonna have Drew Aller. Like you're gonna have some really good quarterbacks. You're gonna have some really good wide receivers. And I think that'll be really exciting to see. Which kind of pivots us right into this next topic of the transfer portal, because we have two brand new wide receivers that he's going to be working with immediately. So any last thoughts on Hagans before we move into the transfer portal?
I think you got to be happy with this hire. I think this could do a lot of good for Penn State.
Yeah, agreed. All right, transfer portal. So we have not recorded really since the Rose Bowl victory, and we focused on the game during that episode. So a lot has happened. I'm going to run through all the names real quick, and then we'll kind of deep dive into some of the more marquee things. But we have had 4 transfer ins so far, headlined by wide receiver Dante Cephas from Kent State, another wide receiver, Malik McClain from Florida State. We've got cornerback Storm Duck, first team all-name team. Incredible. Coming from UNC. And punter Riley Thompson from FAU. So some nice ads there. We'll break them down in a minute. We've seen a decent bit of I won't say exodus, but outflow. I was going to say inflow. Is outflow a word? I don't know. We've seen some guys leave, is what I'm trying to say. Since we have last recorded, some of these maybe happened before the Rose Bowl. I don't remember. Quarterback Christian Veilleux has left. He has landed at Pitt. It's hard to swallow for a lot of people. I was so supportive.
Like Christian Veilleux.
Hey, got him. I was like so hyped when he left. I tweeted out like a highlight video of him from that Rutgers game. And then as soon as he committed to Pitt, all the Pitt people started retweeting it. I was like, damn it, this was not my intention. But we wish him luck. Offensive tackle Malik McNeil. I think he was kind of announced that he wasn't with the team like early on. I don't remember exactly, but he's in the portal now. Defensive lineman Rodney McGraw has landed at Louisville. Corner Jeffrey Davis Jr., unknown. Fatorma Mulba, defensive lineman, lands at West Virginia. Linebacker Jamari Budden, unknown, no destination yet. Corner Marquise Wilson, no destination yet. Running back Kevon Lee, which hurts, no destination yet. And then most recently, wide receiver Jaden Dotton, no destination yet. So a lot to cover. Let's start with the transfers in, which is the most exciting. For months, we've talked about adding wide receivers. We knew it was an area of need. Mitchell Tinsley came in last year, provided some nice consistency, some really good reps for us over the course of the year. Losing him, losing Parker Washington, there was a need to bring in some experienced guys. Dante Cephas was number 1 on the list for as long as I can remember. Comes in from Kent State. He's got 2 years remaining from what I read, and has put up some really great numbers at Kent State. I didn't think we were going to land him. There was a ton of rumors about credits not transferring and academic issues and all this stuff. And then out of nowhere, he drops the committed with the Penn State swag and logos and all that. I was shooketh, as the kids say. What do you think about Dante Cephas?
Yeah, I think that, this is going to be very much like your Mitchell Tinsley type of transfer in from last season. Smaller program to bigger program, proven commodity. His 2022 season was good. His 2021 season was monstrous.
Yeah, that was his big one, right?
For 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Damn.
He's a guy, he has the skills as a receiver. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to run good routes. Your only question with him coming in is going to be the athleticism, coming from the MAC to the Big Ten. Same thing we kind of heard about Tinsley coming in, where Franklin was like, yeah, he's going to have to get a little bit faster.
Sure.
Similarly, Cephas is not going to be your burner. He can make contested catches though. It's not his strongest area, but he can. But he's a very good route runner, and he's got good hands.
Yeah, I think I'm a little. I'm not going to oppose you on that, but I watched the. Did you watch the For the Bloggy video on him?
Yes.
They did a breakdown, and the one thing that maybe tempered expectations a little bit was the limited route tree. Basically, they did not ask him to run a lot of different routes. They ran the option route of a go or a curl over and over and over again, and he burned
Yeah, a
people.
little bit.
There was one game where they ran it like
He
12
knows
times.
how to separate.
Yeah, they ran it like 12 times in one game
runner.
where he would act like he's running the go route and then just stop, and they would feed him for 10 yards every time. So they're
limitations there. My headphones just died. Let's see if we can keep this episode going. Can you still hear me, Pat?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hopefully the audio doesn't suffer too much. My headphones have been dying for weeks, and I don't know where the cord is, and I haven't bought one. I apologize. Anyway, nope. Dante Cephas, like I said, that video tempered expectations a little bit in the sense of it was a limited route tree. He's a good route runner in what he does, but it was a lot of the same stuff of like take the guy deep or sit on the curl and get those 10, 15 yards every time. And then, yeah, just the level of competition, right? Is are you going to be able to do that to Big Ten corners? I don't know. Right. So we're going to find out. But he was, like I said, probably the most coveted wide receiver in the portal as of late. And we got him. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that limited route tree thing. To me, though, like, yeah, it could be an issue. But if you see a guy who kind of like knows how to move his body in order to separate from defenders like that, he's going to be able to do that with pretty much any route. Like, I don't see just because he's not running a lot of 10-yard ins that he can't transfer that skill to that route.
Yeah. I'm not like super worried about it, but it was one of those things like when you see the stats of like, how many catches and 1,200 yards, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be all over the field and he's going to be, the number one. And like, people are penciling him in as number one already. It's like, well, hopefully that'd be awesome.
I mean, he might even be a slot receiver. Like he has that kind of skill set where he can get open in short area.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing now. I'm very excited for this. Don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled.
Oh, he's a great addition. He's not going to come in and be the Big Ten leader in yards.
Of course. Stats are amazing. The eye test pass. He looks like a grown-ass man. I don't know if you've seen his pictures. He looks like a dude. So I'm very excited about that. But like I said, there's Keandre Lambert-Smith, who we're very excited about. There's some young guys. If this adds any sort of complementary football to that wide receiver room, you are more than thrilled. If he's a solid number 2 all season, hell, if he's a solid number 3 behind, say, Keandre and one other guy, like you're happy with him being a regular starter. I'm just tempering a little bit of like when it was first happened, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna come in and he's gonna be the best wide receiver ever. Like, and that's my own naivety. Like, obviously I didn't do any research. But yeah, I'm excited for what he brings, and I think it was a huge get for Franklin and the staff to push through whatever issues there were or were not. Like I said, it was all rumors. Nothing was ever really reported, so you don't know what happened. But this is a big get. You pair that, we got one more, which was a real surprise to me. I hadn't heard his name before he really announced. It's like the day before, because some people started reporting it. They saw his name in like the directory, and they're like, "Oh, we got him." Like, there's a whole buzz on Twitter of like, don't ruin the kid's announcement. Let him do it. Like, anyone can be in the directory, even if they haven't transferred. It was a whole thing. Here nor there. We get Malik McClain from Florida State, and I've heard nothing but good things about this dude. What's your initial take?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is, a very good. These are two additions that I think complement each other well. I think you've got the proven commodity, but like limited ceiling and athleticism in Cephas, and then you've got a guy who I think is a little bit more of an athletic freak, but has not put it together on the field and is not quite the technician in Malik McClain. But you're talking about a guy who's 6'4". I think he was a 4-star recruit.
Yep.
He is a burner. He is fast. He's a guy who can just outrun a cornerback. And he's a guy who can go up and get the ball too.
Oh yeah. I think you saw those highlight videos?
Yes. He can make a contested catch.
Is the end zone fade coming back? Is the red zone fade coming back?
Let's not.
Let's pump the brakes. Let's pump. But did you see that? You've seen the highlight that I'm talking about.
Yes, I have.
Red zone throws it up, and he just.
If you're gonna throw that play, throw it to him.
Yeah.
But he is a guy who's going to need to be developed. He might not be a starter this year. He might not be a serious contributor in 2023. But
yeah,
if you get one decent year and one really good year out of him, home run.
Yeah.
And he's got that potential. He's got potential, if he comes in and starts, working with a new wide receivers coach right away, and this guy can develop players as well as he is, rumored to. This is a guy who could make some noise in 2023.
Yeah, I agree.
High ceiling.
I agree. I was very interested to see they both have 2 years of eligibility from what I've read. I thought Cephas was one, but I read a couple of articles today. I think it was 24/7 and a couple other articles. They all listed 2, so don't quote me on that, but that's what I read. But Malik, I think in particular, what I've heard from Florida State fans on Twitter is that their room was just too crowded, right? Which is like, you never know how to take that, because that's what you say a lot of times, like, oh, we're just too good. He would have never fit in. That's what Rutgers said about Saquon Barkley when he flipped. If you remember that, they said our room is too crowded. He won't get touches. Obviously, they were dead wrong, and he's amazing. But you hear that a lot of times too, of like, oh, this kid's good. We're just too crowded, and like sometimes those kids don't pan out. But like I said, you watch his tape, you see the athleticism, even looking at the numbers, like he had less than 20 catches in each of his 2 seasons for a couple hundred yards, but 2 touchdowns one year, 3 touchdowns the other year. If you're getting 2 touchdowns on 16 catches, that's pretty good. I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? So like he made the most of his time on the field. He just wasn't out there a whole lot. So I don't know.
I think he had an injury this year as well.
Okay.
Nothing major, but I think,
And I don't know what their wide receiver room looks like. I haven't watched a lot of Florida State football, but if that's the case where you're like, I know I can do more and I'm just not getting it here, hell yeah, brother, come on down. Like that's awesome. So I'm very excited about both these guys. Like we mentioned, you got Keandre Lambert-Smith, you got, the guys that started kind of coming on in Harrison Wallace, and you look at some of the younger guys of Omari Evans and Caden Saunders and Liam Clifford, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple names right now, but like there's a lot of talent in this wide receiver room. You add 2 guys with legit college experience, that makes everyone better. Like that makes the entire room better. You don't have to rely on hopefully one of those guys making a superstar jump, right? You hope that maybe Harrison Wallace becomes a very good wide receiver this year. You don't need him to be the best, right? Like I think it really, really helps the entirety of the room, and that's what I'm most excited about with these two additions.
Yeah, and it puts you in a very different situation where like I'm all in on Keandre Lambert-Smith.
Same.
I think he's going to be a stud next year. I think he's a bona fide number one. Absolutely. And it puts you in a position where now instead of having your guy and then you need 2 guys to step up and pop.
Yeah.
Now I think you have one guy with, you've got your bona fide one. You've got a transfer coming in who I think is a reliable 2.
Yep. And
now you're only looking for one guy to pop.
Yeah.
Like that question mark is now from 2 guys to one guy. And I would say even like 1.5 with the addition of, a half a guy.
Yeah. And I think
that's a huge difference, because every
100%.
team you go down the lineup and there's question mark here, question mark here, question mark here. Only so many of those work out.
Of
like
course.
It just doesn't happen where everything works. And
yeah,
the more things you can limit to being question mark, the more successful you're going to be.
Absolutely, and I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's something we talk about all the time. Like I'm still pretty into recruiting, but I used to be a recruiting nut, and I would get so attached to these players and think every single one of them was going to be a 4-year starter and every one of them was going to be amazing. And it just doesn't happen. Jaden Dotton, who we just mentioned is transferring out. I loved him as a prospect. There's a tweet from earlier this year. I was like, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the next guy. Like, you get attached to these kids and sometimes it just doesn't work out. But I think there's so much talent in that room. Like I mentioned, you got Wallace, you got Evans, you got Saunders, you got Clifford. There's so much talent in that room. I'm definitely forgetting someone, and I feel bad because it's going to piss me off when I look it up. There's so much
Christian Driver, hell
yeah. There's still probably someone else. But anyway, there's a lot Malik Mega, sure. Keep them coming. There's a lot of talent in
Liam Clifford.
I think even with a new wide receivers coach, like I think this makes it more conducive for somebody to take that jump, right? It's like, hey, the opportunity is there. Yes, there are transfers coming in, but I think it's seen as like, all right, I got to go take it. Like, it's not going to be given to me. I'm not going to be the next guy just because it's my second year or my third year. Like I have to go earn it. And I think we're going to see that. So I'm really, really excited.
Absolutely. Huge additions all across the wide receiver room.
I'm not out of breath, Pat. I gotta get back into podcasting shape. It's been like a month. The other two additions, Storm Duck mentioned, great name. He is a grad transfer.
Great name, good player.
Yeah, grad transfer is 1 year, but again, an article I read said he has the possibility to take advantage of a 6th year for COVID. Like, why wouldn't that just be built into his eligibility? I don't know. Either way,
he might not take it.
Yeah, we have at least 1 year. And this is exciting, right? You lose obviously Joey Porter Jr. to the NFL. You look at Marquise Wilson, who's transferring out. He had been kind of in the rotation there. Didn't really put it all together. There was that 1 year where they tried him out at wide receiver, which maybe slowed him down a little bit. He had that memorable, maybe the one you don't want to remember in the Rose Bowl, where he kind of got tripped up. I think maybe he just saw, there's a lot of talented DBs in this room. Maybe he just feels, his chances are better elsewhere. But Storm Duck, I see this very much in the Johnny Dixon vein, right? A guy who can come in with talent at a legitimate program and can compete right away. He's made some plays at UNC. He's been a good player. Do I think he's an immediate starter? Probably not, right? You got Caitlin King and Johnny Dixon, and I really need to write shit down.
Daquan Hardy.
Yeah, Daquan Hardy. There you go. Is Daquan Hardy back yet? Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of good corners on this team, but I think Storm is a guy who can come in and be in that rotation pretty early on. What's your take on Storm Duck? I'm also holding a little duck right now. It's like a little, it's a purple duck. I have yellow ones too.
New mascot for the podcast, Storm.
I was just gonna say Storm.
That's him.
My roommate bought like 500 of these, and now we just put them out around at like bars and stuff. Follow Ducks of NYC on Instagram. Well, shameless plug. But what do you think about Storm?
Just post Storm every now and then.
What do you think about Storm Duck?
I think it's a big addition. Penn State is the kind of team they like to have. Like they have their one, and then they have like kind of they run like a 3-man rotation at cornerback. Like this year, it was Joey, Kalen King, Johnny Dixon.
Yep.
Joey leaves, and then you're looking at just Kalen King, Johnny Dixon. Now, you don't want to have 2 guys out there the whole game.
Right.
And, you keep guys fresh and, other things that happen. Having a bona fide 3rd guy, he's got some seriously good pass breakup numbers.
Yeah.
Seriously good grades from PFF. I think it's a big addition. This is a guy who could come in, fight with Johnny Dixon for that kind of like starting spot, but at the very least, be a serious contributor, be in that Johnny Dixon role that was there this season.
Yeah, agreed. And then, like I said, there is some young talent in the defensive back room too, right? We've seen it at safety. We've seen Zachy Wheatley kind of step up. Jalen Reed, over the last couple of years has played that role. We're going to see that at safety with Jair Brown leaving. But I think, like you mentioned, Joey Porter Jr. gone. Kalen King, bona fide number 1. Cam Miller is the other one I was thinking. There it is. Cam Miller was a true freshman last year. He got some play towards the end of the year. I think he's going to have a big year. Oh, wow. Storm Duck is actually listed on the official roster already. Look at that.
Yeah. But dude, Storm Duck, he's got the potential to be that guy that Johnny Dixon was this year, where everyone's talking about how good the top 2 guys are. And then a bunch of Penn State fans are going like, dude, you know who is really good though? Like, you know who I like?
Yeah.
Storm Duck.
Yeah. Oh, I think he's going to be a fan favorite pretty quick, because if he makes like 1 or 2 plays early on, people should be like, Storm Duck, that's my guy, Storm Duck. There are going to be nicknames. There are going to be, the signs that they hang over on the student section. There's so many puns, so many words.
I am Storm.
I am Storm. It's great. But yeah, he's also the biggest corner as I'm looking at this. Again, sorry, I'm reading while we're doing this. Johnny Dixon, 6 foot 190. Kalen King, 5'11", 189. Cam Miller, 6 foot 178. Storm Duck's coming in at 6 foot 200. He's our biggest defensive back, our biggest corner, at least, that I'm looking at right now. So I'm excited for Kalen King's big year as the best corner in the country. I'm excited for Johnny Dixon to keep going. I think Cam Miller is promising. I love Daquan Hardy. You've heard me talk about him. I think the stability that Storm brings in. We also the 2023 class has a ton of defensive backs. We went really heavy on that. So there's going to be a lot of play in that room. But again, this gives people time to develop, adds a proven commodity. We're kind of saying the same thing here. Sorry, but that's what it is.
I think he's going to be that guy who, like, when he comes in the game, a team thinks that they can, like, pick on him, take advantage of, that third guy. And he's like, dude, I'm sorry. Do you know that I am Storm Duck?
You know my fucking name.
Are you aware of the fact that I am Storm Duck?
You know I'm Storm Duck? Storm Duck. There we go. All right, and then Riley Thompson, punter from FAU. I don't know what the punter situation is next year. We got a couple Twitter questions to this episode. I want to shout them both out. We'll probably get to them next episode because they're both kind of future next year on the field questions. We are recruiting, said who plays Will and Sam next year between Carter and Jacobs. We'll save that for next episode. Thank you. We are recruiting. But Drew Cagle said thoughts on the future of the kicking.
I mean, I can tell you right now what the answer to that one is, though.
Yeah, I know, but all right, God, what do you think?
No, we're saving it, Chris.
Saving it. We're talking about Riley Thompson.
You got to come back.
We're talking about Riley Thompson.
Come back. You want the answers to Will.
Come back if you want those answers. Stay tuned. There's more. But Drew Cagle said, what are your thoughts on the future of the kicking game? Which I definitely want to deep dive that in the next episode because, Pinniger's gone. There's a lot to unpack there. But bring in punter Riley Thompson. Punter's kind of interesting, man. Last year we saw Barney Moore kind of be awesome in the beginning of the year. It was amazing. And then kind of a little bit inconsistent. There were times where they brought in the younger kid, Alex Paqueta, I think is his name. And now you bring in a guy who's experienced. You look at his numbers, they're not earth-shattering, Riley Thompson. They're good. They're not amazing. But he's, a college punter. So I don't know where he fits in. I'll be honest. I have no idea. I don't know if he's competing for the starting job. I don't know if he just wanted to be at a bigger program. I don't really know. What's your take on Riley Thompson?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you bring in a punter if he's not competing for the starting job. You're not. Yeah, you're not throwing around offers to specialists who you don't think are going to come in and start.
True. It's been a long day. I didn't mean that. I meant I don't know if he's coming in as
I don't think Penn State does that. They're not a program that goes to the transfer portal and says, "Hey, you're going to be our starter when you come." They go like, "Listen, if you come and be what we think you are, absolutely."
Yeah.
You're going to have a bona fide chance at being the starter, but they do not guarantee starting spots. I think it's why they don't get certain kids in the portal, but I think it's why they have the sort of locker room atmosphere and attitude that they do. I think it's the reason that they're a tight team. I think it's the reason Penn State has a great culture. They don't make these kind of promises to kids, but I don't think they're bringing in anybody unless they see them as someone who can start.
Yeah. Bear with me, people. It's been a long day. Sorry, it's 8:00 here. I had a long one. My point was like looking at his numbers. I wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's going to be like the punter, change the game. Like, and that's not a knock on him whatsoever. He's at FAU, so it's definitely a lower level program, different atmosphere, all that. I get that. But I think like when you brought on Jordan Stout, like there was the immediate like, oh, this kid has a huge leg. He's going to be a kickoff specialist and have a good chance to be our deep field goal kicker. And then he ended up like taking over for Pinniger for a year and really kind of making that his own. I didn't get the same like wow factor when I looked at Riley Thompson. But that being said, I think we had an interaction on Twitter. He's the Australian one, Riley Thompson?
He is indeed. Love a good Aussie punter.
Yeah, so I said, "Good day, mate. Welcome aboard," or something like that. And some guy responded to me like, "Don't make fun of him." I was like, "I'm not. I was genuinely welcoming him. Like, I thought that was kind of funny. He's from Australia." And I said, "Good day, mate." And he responded, he's like, "No, I love it. All good." Like, so, yeah. Riley, we're friends, brother. We're friends. You have an open invite to come on the pod anytime you want.
Foster's if you're ever out in LA.
Oh, hell yeah. Now that I remember that interaction, I'm more excited. Fuck it. Riley Thompson, punter of the future. Welcome aboard, brother.
Right, baby. Good day.
But those are our 4 transfers in so far. So before we move to outs, we're not going to go through all of them. That'd be taking way too long. But before we move to kind of glancing through them, transfer in, there is another round of transfer portals before summer practices begin, I believe. Is there any, if it's not a player, maybe it's a position, is there anything else you have your eye on?
I mean, I think they're always going to be looking at offensive line depth. They're for sure going to be looking for running back depth, but that's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Same thing with quarterback depth, hard sell. Middle linebacker, maybe. Defensive tackle is probably the big one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I've seen most from people on Twitter is like interior defensive linemen, maybe some linebacker depth. But I haven't seen any like huge names. Like I said, Cephas for, if what felt like months was like the guy to get. I haven't really seen anyone like crazy that they're tied to right now. So we'll keep an eye on that over the next couple months.
Not many big D tackles going to the portal because if you're that good, your university is going to keep you happy. And let's be honest, if you're one of the few guys walking around at like 6'5", 350 who can clog up the hole as a one tech, you're probably not falling down to a smaller program. Like you're going to be highly recruited.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll do our best to keep our ears to the ground and keep you guys informed on what to expect in future transfer portals. Like I mentioned, we've seen a good bit of guys leave in this round. Just from a quantity standpoint, it feels like a little bit more than maybe some previous years. But as always, it's more often than not a guy who was not going to play as much, maybe, a little bit buried on the depth chart, which again is funny because we always say this, right? Like, oh, he's buried in the depth chart. It's fine. He can leave. But then we look at Malik McLean and we're like, oh, he's just buried in the depth chart. He's perfect. Like you play both sides of the coin every time. But we do wish all these guys best of luck. We hope they find situations that benefit them. I think the biggest one for me was Kevon Lee. I've just grown to be such a fan of his over the last couple of years. And then, obviously we saw the writing on the wall. It's not a surprise to anyone. You got Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen doing what they do. It's, as you're getting older, you don't want to sit behind two freshman studs. Get it. But it was like a couple months ago, someone asked him on his Instagram, like, how you can put those like questions out. Someone asked him on his Instagram story, like, are you coming back next year? He's like, I got to run it back or something like that. So like very exciting. I was pumped. I was like, all right, we're going to figure out a 3-headed monster. It's going to be amazing. But you got to do what's best for you. And I hope he gets a chance to start somewhere because I think he's got the talent to do it. So that one probably hit me the hardest. I don't know what else I was going to say there. I'm having an off day. Sorry, guys. Pat needs to take care of something. So we'll be back after this commercial break.
Whopper, Junior Dub.
Oh, he's back. Yeah. It was someone was knocking on my door. As usual. Just someone dropping off a package for my girlfriend.
Sounds about right. All right, we were talking about Kevon Lee. Mentioned that was the one I'm going to miss the most. I put out Kevon Lee appreciation tweet with his game-winning touchdown at Purdue. We'll always be thankful for that. And he did retweet it with a heart. So Kevon, we'd love to have you on the show. Love to hear about your decision. Love to hear about where you land. Anyone on the transfer out list or anything you want to talk about there before we wrap up and move on?
Kevon and Veyer are kind of similar. That they hurt not because they're your top end starters, but they're important depth pieces. It's tough to go into a season with two running backs, essentially. It's tough to go into a season with two quarterbacks
who have not played. I completely glossed over that. Like,
we don't have
a show, but Pribula is the backup, and Jackson Smolik is an early enrollee. So you've got your backups have never thrown. Pribula got a little bit of snaps. It's a little scary. And
Kevon Lee was a legit. As much as you had the two talented freshmen who I think at this point have passed him. Guy was a legit passing threat out of that backfield. I thought that was really his strong suit as a running back. And that
he's a powerful runner too. I mean, he wasn't absolutely the fastest guy. He wasn't going to break away a la Saquon or Nick Singleton, but he had a couple of really nice runs. Everyone talked about the Michigan game from, I think it was 2020. Was that the year Journey and Noah both got hurt that Kevon came in and kind of took over? He had a lot of great memories at Penn State. So he's the kind of guy like the Veyu one kind of like it caught me a little bit by surprise because like Pitt has their quarterback. So like you're going to go be a backup for a year there and then take over. Like I guess he saw Drew's the future. So I don't want to be a career backup. I want to have a chance to start. Makes sense. But I hope Kevon goes to a place where he has a chance to like legit be the guy right away.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, if he's going to leave, I hope he gets to go somewhere where he is the man.
Yeah, so best of luck to all those guys. Welcome to the new guys. You are all now Nittany Lions for life. One last thing before we go to the recruiting class, because this has been the talk of Twitter over the last couple of weeks with the NFL playoffs going on, is like who gets to claim a player. So like all the Ohio State fans claim Joe Burrow, which he himself says, I'm a Buckeye. I have a great relationship with them. Sure, cool. But like people put up pictures of like him. It's like Ohio State's in the playoffs. Like, chill, dude. Like he's everyone knows he's an LSU. Like that's where he got his.
He never played a game at Ohio State.
He had a couple snaps. I looked it up. I think he threw one.
He never started a game.
Never started a game. The Jalen Hurts one, everyone's like, is he Alabama or is he Oklahoma? Like I tweeted out this morning.
That one can go both ways at least. Sure. Like the man was a legit contributor at both universities. Yeah. I mean, he went to the college football playoff at Alabama.
Yeah.
And like was a Heisman Trophy candidate there.
Yeah.
And then finished his career at Oklahoma, where again he won a Heisman Trophy, right?
Yeah. I don't know if he won it there.
That one can go either way, but like Joe Burrow, I don't care what he says. Has no business being considered a Buckeye.
Yeah, people
You're an idiot.
People do that with Jameson Williams too. And Jameson Williams has said like he doesn't fuck with the Buckeyes anymore. Like something happened at Ohio State that he doesn't like, and he obviously went to Alabama and succeeded. But like people put up pictures of like this wide receiver room, and it's like Jameson Williams, Olave, and Garrett Wilson. It's like he said he doesn't like you guys. Move on. So like I tweeted out this morning, I'm over it. I don't care. Claim whoever you want. I will be personally claiming all of these guys, whether they're the new guys who came in. If Cephas goes to the NFL, he's in Nittany Lion. If Vayu ends up in the NFL, I'm going to root for him and say, damn, I love that Rutgers game. Like, I do it now. Juwan Johnson, like, yeah, he went to Oregon, had a great year there, had the most touchdowns. He scored more touchdowns in 1 year at Oregon than he did, I'm pretty sure, in his entire career at Penn State. Maybe just similar. Either way, I still claim him. Like, I'm over that is what I'm saying. I don't care. Claim whoever you want, whatever makes you feel happy. Hope all these guys do well. Moving on. 2023 recruiting class. We haven't really talked about this a whole lot, so I wanted to touch on it. Again, we have a long off season, so we'll probably do another episode where we deep dive into the full class, talk about all the different guys, talk about their impacts, all of that. But just the highlights here. We finish from 24/7 from their rankings. Obviously, it varies. I'm looking at 24/7. The 14th ranked class this year, 1 5-star, 15 4-stars, 6 3-stars. 11 of them are early enrollees. They're already on campus, so you love to see that. Obviously, that is a tremendous advantage for a lot of these kids, especially in certain positions, getting into winter workouts, getting in the strength training program, getting into the college atmosphere is huge. So the highlights here, just a couple of the top guys. Javen Williams, our 5-star. He's an O-lineman from Pennsylvania. He is a big dude. He's 6'4", 285, and he is incredibly athletic. Every highlight you see is him like pulling from the left guard side to like lead block and just demolish people. Offensive linemen don't typically start as true freshmen. You know, we talked about Landon Tengwall last year, that he was kind of ready. Javen Williams is that dude. If someone is going to play as a true freshman, as an O-lineman, I think he has a good chance. So we'll see. Maybe he starts inside at like a guard, but I think he ends up as a tackle. Next up, you got Alex Birchmeyer. He's another offensive lineman from Virginia, 6'5", 290, so also a big guy. He was at one point, he was the number 1 interior O-lineman, so that's great to have some nice interior depth. Tony Rojas, linebacker, who's the Virginia Gatorade Player of the Year. Really excited about him. And then rounding out the top 5, you got Elliott Washington, a corner from Florida, and Tamir Robinson, an edge or a linebacker, depending on the service you look at, from Pennsylvania. So, like I said, we'll go into the full list of all 22 guys. We'll break them down at some point. But any thoughts on this class or any of the headliners? Anything you got for recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go more into a deep dive. I'm super blank on his name right now, but the safety from Alabama, I think he's going to be a stud. Javen Williams, 5-star offensive lineman is always something to be excited about for this program. Birchmeyer's a guy who I think would be a 5-star if he wasn't considered an interior prospect. Tony Rojas. I think it's probably not as much day one contributors as the 2022 class, but I think there's a lot of depth in there and there's a lot of serious talent.
Yeah, Dakari Nelson is the safety from Alabama.
He's a beast.
Yeah. I looked at just the breakdown here. 3 O linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs. So I mentioned we got a lot of defensive backs in this. You look at Elliott Washington, Dakari Nelson, Zion Tracy, Lamont Payne. I think there's one more I'm missing. Who am I missing here? Who am I missing? I don't know. There's one more. My screen's going crazy. 2 O linemen, 5 defensive backs, 3 edge, 2 or maybe 3 tight ends. So this is a really good tight end class. Joey Schlafer from Reading, PA, is a 4-star tight end. You got Mega Barnwell. He was, I think, at one point our first commit in this class years ago. Decommitted, reopened, came back. They have him listed as an athlete, but I know he did play tight end at one point. And then there's Andrew Rappleyea.
He's a beast.
He's a beast. He was a Michigan commit, I believe, flipped to us. So that's awesome. So you got 2 or 3 tight ends in this class. Love to see that. The 1 quarterback, Jackson Smolik. There's only 1 wide receiver, I believe, Carmelo Taylor, kid from Virginia.
So we missed on Cam Seldon and Rodney Gallagher.
Yep, exactly. There's 2 running backs, London Montgomery, who is highly touted but coming off of an injury. And then one of the latest additions was a kid named Cam Wallace, very speedy guy. They have him listed as an athlete, but has a ton of tape as a running back, just torching people. So you love to see the depth there, right? Getting 2 more in. We just talked about how losing Kevon, you only have Nick and Katron. That helps. And then two interior defensive linemen, at least as they're listed now. So I love how we said we were going to wait to do a deep dive, and then I just listed almost every player. But there's a lot of talent here. And I think your point about not as much instant impact is probably true, because last year's class was just an anomaly. I mean, there's
3-4 guys who legitimately contributed as true freshmen?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Nick.
That's pretty nuts.
Carter. Yeah. There's last year was an incredible class, and
and by the way, also Drew
Allen. Hopefully you get to a point where there's a handful every year playing instant impact, right? That's what the big programs do. You see a lot of those guys playing, if not in the same level as some of our guys. You see them playing in the second half when the team's blowing out. That's why they are studs in their second year. That's why they go to the NFL after their third year, right? So I think we're in a good spot. 14th. You love to see top 10 classes. Do we wish it was a little bit higher? Sure. But I think there's a lot of talent in this class, and I'm excited to dig into all of them a little bit more. I think that's it for football. Like I said, we have a couple of Twitter questions. We were supposed to record this last week. I was out of town for a wedding. Congrats, Britt and KJ. It was amazing. We'll touch on those in another episode too, where we'll do some kind of previews of the actual on the field product for next year. But appreciate you guys writing in as always. So for the rest of this episode, like I said, we're going to pivot a little bit. That's our first off-season recap for football, but there's a lot going on in the rest of Penn State athletics, and Pat is going to take us through some wrestling, some basketball. Pat, take it away.
I'll start off with the basketball, because that's going to be, there's so much that you almost don't want to go too far into it.
Yeah.
Penn State just this moment fell to 13-7 after getting absolutely shellacked by Rutgers.
Oh,
don't like to see. But they're a good team. Second year under Micah Shrewsbury, who I think is going to be a great coach for Penn State. Really has a chance to turn this program around. They're a team that I think is going to be a bubble tournament team at the end of the year. Really getting beat that badly by Rutgers is not a bad team, but getting beat that badly is not going to look good on their resume.
Yeah, I saw a tweet earlier that said like the likelihood of getting into the tournament if they won tonight versus if they lost. It was a big try. It was like if they won, it was like almost 80% like to get in, and if they lost, it dropped down to like 60 something. So not great.
Yeah, I mean it's now looking at the point where like they're going to have to come out with a quality road win somewhere, whether that and there's limited amount of winnable those games left. Like I don't see a win at Purdue happening.
Yeah.
Number 1 team in the country. I'm not. Maryland could win that game. I'm not sure how good Maryland is this year. A win at Ohio State. Again, Ohio State's a little down though, so I'm not sure how strong that win would be considered.
Right.
So, but they're going to have to come out with a strong win somewhere, whether it's home against Michigan, home against Wisconsin, who they lost very narrowly to on the road.
I remember that one.
Home against Illinois. Like they're going to have to pull off at least one win that they weren't expected to at this point, I think, to really be considered a tournament team. And then, string together have a good showing at the Big Ten tournament, and they can make it.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, I've said this many, many times. We are a football podcast. I kind of pay attention to basketball. Pat is very in depth on wrestling, so we're football with a wrestling touch. But basketball, like it's fun to watch from the wings. Like I know enough where like I see Micah Shrewsbury getting like tossed from games, and he's super passionate.
I like him.
Love that. You see some of the milestones. I think it was two guys hit 1,000 points, right? It was Lundy and what's the other guy's name? Shit.
Funk? Oh, Pickett. Pickett. It's definitely Jalen Pickett, right?
No, it was 1,000 career points. It was Seth Lundy and another guy that's been with us for a while.
Jalen Pickett, right?
No, I'm definitely someone else. I'm blanking. This is a bad episode, guys. I'm mush brain right now.
This is a fun team, though, man. When they're fun, they're fun.
Like every time
they shoot, man.
I follow along on Twitter a lot of times, and I just see Andrew Funk. Andrew Funk.
Andrew Funk.
Jake Funk is a running back from Maryland. Andrew Funk, I just see.
And Mark Funk is a kid I went to high school with.
There you go. Shout out Funk.
Really good squash player.
I always see Funk like a lights out shooting. The 1,000 points, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure it was Seth Lundy and Miles Dredd. I think both had 1,000 career points.
Yes.
Really cool. Jalen Pickett, I saw a graphic the other day talking about the best guards in the country. They had him listed as number 1, the best guard in the country.
Yeah, he's a bad man. Yeah,
so it's very fun to watch along with. Shout out to the people who are super invested and go to all the games. Was it Legion of Blue, I think they're called, or something? Definitely fun to watch. I wish I liked it more. It's just basketball's not my sport.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is the kind of team where I'm not a huge basketball guy either, but I can watch this team because, like you do, when they're on, they're really fun.
Yeah,
because they're just knocking down threes. They play quality defense. They don't really have a big man, like a true Big Ten big man.
Yeah, what was it last year? John Harr.
Yeah,
Harr. Yeah.
But like, man, when there's going to be stretches every game when you're a shooting team where it goes cold and it's tough to watch.
You live by the 3, you die by the 3, man. It's tough.
But they're if they get hot, especially in the tournament, in the Big Ten tournament, man, watch out. They could be dangerous.
Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. That was Talking Basketball, Penn State basketball with Pat Colicchio.
And now to the greatest sports program.
Let's get to your forte. Penn State wrestling. Things appear to be pretty good, but give us the inside scoop here.
The most dominant college football dynasty in existence currently, Penn State wrestling. Odds-on favorite to win the national championship again. 10-0 this season. Coming up this Friday will be the only dual meet they have any legitimate chance of losing against Iowa. Will be a tight one. I'll get into it in a little bit.
Do they take place like at one of the campuses? Is it at Penn State or at Iowa? How do those?
I think this one is at Penn State, but I'm actually not sure.
I did see I put out on our Instagram today. By the way, we're back on Instagram, so check that out. It's going to be a big offseason, guys. YouTube, Instagram, a lot of content happening. I posted, there was a nice Twitter exchange. Micah Parsons, who is a known supporter of Penn State wrestling. He's been a big fan. He's very close with Roman Bravo Young. He tweeted out, like, big duel, Penn State, Iowa. Who can get me in? Fucking David Taylor comes off the top rope. I got you. So they're going to the.
I think Micah and Bo were always close.
Yeah. Him and Bo were. I remember there was a video of them playing like spike ball or something. It was crazy. So take us through what's about to happen here.
All right. So I'll give you like a little bit of breakdown of the season so far. 125. Gary Steen's been the guy. Robbie Howard is out for a second year in a row with an injury. It's been tough. Gary Steen, he's a redshirt freshman, pretty highly touted recruit, but he's having a tough go at it in the Big Ten, putting together a 5-9 season so far. This was not a guy who was expected to start the season, being thrown in a little early.
Okay.
You move up to 33, obviously. You've got the man, 2-time returning NCAA champion, Roman Bravo Young, 9-0 on the season. I think just against Michigan had his first non-bonus point victory for any non-wrestling fans out there. there are 4 ways you can win a wrestling match. Decision, which is you win by 8 points or fewer. Major decision, 8 to 14 points. Technical fall, at any point in the match, if you're up by 15 points or more, they just call it and say you're done. Or a pinfall. You put the guy's shoulder blades on the mat. Anything above a decision is considered a bonus point victory.
Okay, so he's been crushing.
He's got 8 bonus point wins on the season. Had a bit of an odd close match against Dylan Ragusin from Michigan. But, I mean, Roman is going to roll all the way to the NCAA finals pretty much. His only test of the year is really going to be in the finals against Dayton Fix, who he is now 2-0 against. By the way, Dayton Fix is a world silver medalist. That's how good Roman Bravo Young is. This kid is a world silver medalist, and Roman is 2-0 against him.
Holy shit! Now, what's the thing I've seen a lot on Twitter about Roman and who's the kid from Iowa? Spencer Lee, is it?
Yes. So
I've seen a lot.
Do you want me to get to that in the weight by weight breakdown of us, or in the
whatever makes sense? Whatever makes sense for you. Whatever you think will be easy.
I'll get to that in a match preview.
Okay, cool.
41, we've got Bo Bartlett coming down from 149 last season. This is the weight he really should have been at his whole career, but obviously 2-time NCAA champion Nick Lee has been there. So Bo had been wrestling 49. He's 14-0 this season. I think ranked number 4 in the country, something like that. He's going to have his first real big test this season at Iowa. He's looking a lot better than he has in the past 2 years, though.
Okay, I'll have to see that.
49, we've got a true freshman, bit of a phenom in Shane Van Ness, made some real big noise last year in the freestyle wrestling circuit, like the senior level, went to the U.S. Open and had a really good tournament. He's 11-2. I think he's ranked 15th in the country. His 2 losses on the season are to, I believe, number 1 ranked Austin Gomez, who beat absolute legend of the sport, Yanni Diakomahalis, a kid who's going for his 4th NCAA title this year. Only has 1 loss now 2 losses in his entire career, and to the kid who beat Austin Gomez, Panero Johnson out of Iowa State. Shane's, a guy who I'm expecting him to All-American this year as his first year in the lineup.
Okay.
57 has been a little dramatic for the Nittany Lions. Started the year off with Terrell Barraclaw, sophomore, has always been like a solid contributor at Penn State, but not like a phenom type of guy. And then a couple weeks ago, Levi Haynes makes his dual meet debut against Wisconsin and absolutely dismantles, I believe, a 15th ranked Garrett Model. Beat him by took him apart, beat him by 10 points, I think.
Yeah. Levi Haynes, you said his name?
Levi Haynes.
Pretty great.
And so
that's the underwear, baby. Levi Haynes. That's pretty good.
Exactly. Make sure you're Roman ready and you're Levi Haynes,
Pretty good. Listen, Fantasy Wrestling, if you need some marketing deals, we got you.
I'm your guy. But dude, big drama this week coming into the Iowa match. Levi is at his match limit before his red shirt can be pulled. So similar to the 4 games that you get in football, same thing in wrestling. He can either wrestle this week at Iowa and they'll pull his red shirt, or they can keep his red shirt and he'll be able to, compete for an NCAA title next season.
Okay, I was gonna say, so
big drama.
So if they pull, or if they choose not to wrestle him this weekend, he can not compete in the tournament.
Correct. And so the drama there is Barraclaw is a good wrestler. He's a guy who could probably, would almost definitely qualify for the NCAA tournament and could push for a low All-American spot. Levi Haynes right now looks like maybe he's a title contender.
Yeah.
But next year, you go, okay, this is a guy who's for sure a title contender next year.
Right. So in the future, that's tough, man. That's tough. Either way, he should be getting some good NIL deals. We'll hook you up. But
absolutely.
What would you do if you were Cal?
I don't know. I really don't, man. Because like I said, I don't. What? Here's the thing: 157, where he's at, is a wide open weight class this year. There's not a lot of top end talent. Off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you who the number 1 ranked wrestler is, because the guy who was in the finals last year moved up to 65. The guy who won it 2 years ago also moved up to 65. He is a title contender as a freshman, but then you look at it and go, well, next year he's fucking definitely a title contender.
Right. And with wrestling, it's one of those where you want to get as much longevity as you can, right? Because like, it's
Yeah,
not
because there is no
pros.
leaving early.
Yeah, there is no pros to go to. It's
Yeah.
just, worlds and Olympics and all that. So you want to
Exactly.
keep guys as long as you can. Okay, that makes sense.
And also they don't need him to win a team title this year.
Right.
They might need him to beat Iowa, but they do not need him to win a team title at the tournament.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, so you go up to 65. You got Alex Facundo, another redshirt freshman, another highly touted recruit coming in at 11-1. I believe his only loss of the year is to number 2 ranked David Carr, kid who was NCAA champ 2 years ago at 157. Facundo looks very good. He's in an absolutely stacked weight class though. As good as he is at 11-1, not a title contender for this year. Maybe, as like a junior senior kind of guy could be a title contender, but definitely someone who can push for one of those low All-American spots.
Okay, cool.
Carter Starachi coming in at 174, number 1 ranked wrestler, of course, because he's a beast.
I remember him from last year.
Yeah, I mean, the only remote test he's seen this season has been at the All-Star Classic, which is an unofficial bout that happens against the guy he beat last year in the finals, Mekhi Lewis. Beat him again. He currently, I believe, I think he's bonused everyone he's wrestled.
Yeah.
If he hasn't, he only has 1 non-bonus point. He's got 1 non-bonus victory. He's rolling through people. He's showing offense that he hasn't shown in the past couple of years. In my mind, he is already a national champ.
Hell yeah.
84, Aaron Brooks, a guy who I think 2 years ago, you said I went on record when he was a true freshman. Yep. I said, Brooks is still ranked number 1 in the country. He's going to win a national championship, but he did take a weird loss this season.
Okay.
Against a quality opponent from, I believe, Iowa State. He got, right at the beginning of the match, got thrown on his back and got put up. So that's what's called a 6-point move. Guy throws him on his back, 2-point takedown, 4-point near fall. So he goes down 6-0 in the first minute of the match. Loses the match 7-9. It was a close match. He battled back and was the better wrestler from that point on by quite a bit.
Hard to make a
6-point hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a guy. Anything less than a national championship out of Aaron Brooks is a disappointment.
Got it.
197. We got Max Dean, the transfer in from Cornell last year, who won an NCAA championship for Penn State. He's taken 2 weird losses on the year, but he does this. It's a thing he did last year too. Gets kind of cold, just takes a couple losses that he shouldn't. And actually, one of those was to former Penn State 197 Michael Beard, who transferred out this year because Dean was staying. Lehigh.
Ah, they're like a notorious good wrestling program, aren't they?
Yeah, not as good as they used to be, but they're a Pennsylvania wrestling program. They're quality. Max Dean is still a guy, depending on the polls you're seeing, anywhere from 1 to 4 in the country at 97. Probably going to be your favorite at the weight class. If not, anything below 3rd place, I would say would be an absolute disappointment out of Max Dean.
Okay.
And then the big boy heavyweight, Greg Kirkfleet. I think he took 4th at NCAAs last year, forfeited out in the 3rd place match. Was ranked number 1 for a good bit of the season, but just lost a match to Mason Paris from Michigan. Really interesting weight class up at heavyweight. There's 4 top guys who they can all beat each other.
Okay.
It's going to be a big test this week. Kirkfleet at Iowa. He just beat their heavyweight for the first time at the All-Star Classic. But again, that's an unofficial bout. He's never officially beaten Cassiope out of Iowa. And I think Cassiope is technically 3-0 against him. So does the momentum from the All-Star roll over, or does it not?
He's due, baby. Yeah. He's due.
But we get to I'll preview this Iowa match for us real quick. This is the only match of the season Penn State has any business being relatively close in. I'll start with the drama at 25-33.
Yeah.
So Spencer Lee is one of the greatest college wrestlers of all time. He's wrestling for Spencer Lee out of Iowa. They're 125 pounder. He's going to be wrestling for his 4th NCAA championship this year. There's no way he doesn't win. There's literally no way. but he has a serious history of injuries. He won an NCAA championship 2 years ago with no ACLs.
Oh, I remember that video. Yeah.
Yes, no ACLs. He's had a torn ACL for like his entire college career.
He's still
Now,
dominating.
oh yeah, he's incredible. He's
Okay.
generational.
Okay.
People want him to bump up from 25 to 33 to wrestle Roman because Gary Steen is not great at.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's really more of a fan theory than anything that's realistic.
They want to see best of the best.
Best of the best. But the problem is Iowa's backup 25 is redshirting, but he's not a true freshman, so he doesn't get the 4 matches.
Yeah.
So they would have to pull his red shirt for 1 match just to bump Spencer.
Why would someone do that just for fanfare?
Yeah, because Iowa's other backup at 25 is likely not going to beat Gary Steen. But in like the fantasy world of some people, this kid Drake Ayala comes out, beats Gary Steen. Spencer comes out, beats Roman, and now instead of Iowa probably being up 6-4 after 2 matches or 6-3, they're up like 9-0.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So
but not going to happen.
Yeah. So if things stay the way they are now, like you mentioned, this is one that could be close.
But, I mean, it would be a fascinating match. Roman's obviously bigger, obviously healthier. Health is one of the reasons they wouldn't do it.
Right.
But you're talking about this is a guy who could very well beat Roman Bravo Young.
Yeah.
I would consider him the favorite if they wrestled.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
generational talent.
While it would be fun, it would be fun to watch. We care about, what is it, winning big matches and winning Big Ten titles or something?
Win big matches, win national titles. Win team titles.
Win team titles. That was it. Team title. I knew I was close.
Penn State will do this year, even if they lose to Iowa on Friday.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. What are the implications for the rest of the year if they were to lose?
It really doesn't mean anything other than pride.
Yeah. Which is very big for these guys, yeah.
Oh, I mean, listen, it's the same reason we want to beat, Ohio State, even if we're not going to make the playoff, because you want to beat Ohio State. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the biggest rivalry right now in college wrestling. These are the 2 best programs. They hate each other. Iowa is the traditional powerhouse in the sport. Penn State is the new kid on the block. They're kind of beating up Iowa recently, taking their lunch money. But Iowa wins some dual meets against Penn State. And they are, they're when you think of the wrestler that you remember from high school, that kid who was like kind of nuts, that's Iowa.
Okay.
That's everything about Iowa is like that. They're tough wrestling and their coaches are absolute fucking nut jobs. And the kids who wrestle there are fucking nut jobs.
All right. So all of that said, you broke it down. You gave us every weight class. What is your prediction for this dual meet? How do you see the final score going?
All right. Can you do some math for me?
Sure.
All right. I'll give you my weight by weight breakdown.
All right.
I go Penn State. Spencer Lee pins Gary Steen at 125. So Iowa goes up 6-0.
Okay.
Then I'm going to say Roman gets a major decision over Brody Teske, I want to say, from Iowa. So Iowa leads 6-4. Then 141, we got Bo Bartlett against, hold on, let me see here. Against Real Woods. Real Woods is like the number 1 or 2 kid in the country, depending on what service you're looking at. I'll go decision. That's kind of a toss-up, but definitely advantage Real Woods. So go decision Real Woods. I was now up 9-4.
9-4.
Right?
Yep.
41, Bo Bartlett against. Oh no, sorry. 49. You got Shane Van Ness against Max Murin. Toss-up again. Max Murin's a higher ranked wrestler for sure. He's older. He's not a guy who beats really top tier guys, and so that's the question: is Shane Van Ness top tier? I'll go decision for Van Ness here.
Okay, so 9-4 Iowa. Where does that put us?
9-7. So decision's 3 points.
Okay, got it.
Decision's 3 points. Major decision 4. Technical fall 5. Pin 6.
Okay, so we're at 9-7.
Then we move to 57. I'm going to say Levi Haynes. I think he wrestles against Caleb Siebricht or Kobe Siebricht from Iowa. Good wrestler. I think Haynes is definitely better. If Haynes wrestles, decision Haynes.
So we get 3 there?
Yeah.
We're up 10-7 or 10-9.
65, you got Facundo against Patrick Kennedy. Again, that's a toss-up, man. And Facundo wrestles tight matches. He's not a guy with dynamic offense. Toss-up, I go edge Facundo with a decision.
That's Iowa?
Yeah. No, that's us.
Oh, sorry. So we get 3 there.
Yeah.
We're up 13-9.
74, Starachi's getting bonus points against Nelson Brand's coach's son. Who cares?
How many do we get for that?
4 points.
Okay, so we're up 17-9.
Aaron Brooks against Abe Assad. Kind of an interesting one. Abe Assad's not that great, but Aaron Brooks can never major him. Very weird. He just cannot seem to bonus the guy. So I'll go decision Brooks.
3 for us?
3 for us, yeah.
Okay, 20-9.
97, Max Dean against Jacob Warner. Dean beat Warner in the NCAA Finals last season. On top of that, right now, Warner just doesn't look very good. He's going through a weird stretch where he just Give me Max Dean all day, 3 points.
So that's 3 for us, 23-9.
And then Kirkfleet, Cassiope, man. Kirkfleet makes me nervous because he does some like late matches when he's tired. He does some like lazy, stupid stuff. And Cassiope is a guy who takes advantage of those things. But after the win at the All-Star, I'm going with Kirkfleet by decision.
Okay. So how many points is that?
That's 3 more points.
For us?
Yeah.
So we are at 26-9. Penn State.
So it could look like that.
And and you gave Iowa 6 fucking points in the first match. They got 3, the rest of them dual.
Yeah. And so, but here's the weird thing about a wrestling match. Like that sounds like a beatdown.
Yeah.
However, I mean, Iowa could very easily win 49, 57, and 65.
Yeah, a couple of those decisions go the other way.
That changes every. I mean, that's what an 18-point swing right there.
Could be.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a path for Iowa to win this match, and it's them winning those 3 weights, and Penn State not getting bonus points.
Yeah. Okay.
Iowa can win 5 matches here. There's 10 matches. Iowa can win 5 of them. And they're getting bonus points in that first one, guaranteed.
For anyone watching, this is the breakdown. I'll put it up on the screen. I don't know why I'm covering this as a gift card that I used already, but we win 26-9. Maybe I'll put this together a video. I'll put it out Friday before the duel of your predictions. I don't think we'll be able to fit all of them in a 2-minute Twitter video, but we'll do one of those like speed ups of.
If I was a betting man and you put the over under on Penn State's points at 23 or like 22.5, I'd take the over.
Okay.
If you put it at like 25, if you put it at 25.5, I'd probably take the under.
Yeah, because of a lot.
Because something can flip there.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Makes sense. I mean, that's a lot of wrestling content.
There's a lot of toss ups in this match, though.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Like I said,
and then the big question of, does Levi Haynes wrestle?
Levi Haynes, I'm getting this kid an NIL deal. I'm telling you.
I always thought it was criminal that Will Levis didn't get an NIL deal
from Levi's. Yeah,
but
this kid's name is Levi, though. They should. Yeah. Roman. I mean,
and together.
Yeah,
together, Levi and Haynes.
Levi, Haynes, both go on the bottom part of your body. It's fucking perfect. I mean, Haynes makes t-shirts too. You could do a whole thing. And then Roman Bravo Young.
How is Roman not working with Roman Bravo Young?
Make that happen.
He's literally always Roman ready for every match.
Always. This is insane. All right. Anything else on wrestling? Big duel Friday. What time is it at?
I want to say 7 Eastern.
And is that like on TV or is it only through like the streaming stuff?
It'll probably be on Big Ten Network, which you can stream on the Fox Sports app.
There you go. So if you want to watch, check it out.
And it is at the BJC.
At the BJC. That's pretty dope. So check out Penn State Wrestling Dynasty.
8:30 Eastern.
8:30 Eastern. Cale Sanderson. Ton of studs ready to take down the Iowa Hawkeyes. Sounds pretty cool, man.
Oh, it will be.
All right, that about does it for this episode. I think we're a little long on this one, but hey, it's the offseason. We got stuff to chat about. So Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you as always. Check out the YouTube, check out the Instagram, rate, review, subscribe. I told myself I would never be one of the people that said that, but hey,
But we are.
it is the game, baby.
I've been saying it the past couple, so you might as well start throwing it in.
You got to. Apparently, reviews are the most helpful. So if you can,
then review
on iTunes or Spotify for the podcast, that would be amazing. We appreciate you. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great week, and we'll be back fairly soon with another one of these. We are.